Frank,
Yes, sir.
how many times have you used the bathroom today?
I haven't used the bathroom since 1964.
Okay.
You can interpret that however you'd like.
This is the Roundabout Podcast. We're your host. I'm John.
And I'm Jeremy, and today we are going to be talking about busyness, how important time management is in our lives, and kindergarten PTSD.
So let's give we should give a shout out right away.
Are we starting this?
Yeah, let's start it. Let's start it.
We're starting.
Let's give a shout out to, we did our first live Instagram. Is that how you say it?
So Instagram?
We did our Instagram post. Live Instagram post?
Live Instagram.
We did our first live Instagram post. And
because it's not a reel. A reel is something else, right? A reel is like a short video.
A reel, I think, is just like a short video.
Yeah.
Man, you just turned 40. I'll be 45, and I think we're showing our age very quickly here.
It's time to throw on some classic rock and
yeah. But we said we would give a shout out to the 3 people that tuned into that Instagram post, which we really appreciate their support.
Oh yeah,
let's go. Thank you, Javier,
Jordan, and
Mom,
and my mother.
Yeah. So
thank you, Mom.
So let's be honest, it was really 2 people.
She's hey.
I know Mom counts,
but
I've been kind of teasing us here because right now we're getting all the mom and grandma compliments that you guys are just great. Oh, you're so handsome and funny on there.
But it's been.
But we do appreciate your support, Christine. Thank you guys. We're gonna try to do a lot more of that type of stuff. We're newbies, so we're trying to navigate through it and figure it out. But we definitely want to stay engaged and do some fun things like that. So if you guys can offer up any advice or suggestions, we're all ears.
Yeah, and questions, comments as well. I just posted that on the Facebook and the Instagram. If you guys, at any point, if you guys have questions, comments, anything that you want to just have us talk about, or ideas that we got Mr. Meat, Tyler Bessa, threw a bunch of, I don't know if you saw that or not, but he put a bunch of ideas, like just different random things that we could talk about.
Meat?
No. Mr. Meat was just his name from that one episode. But it was
like how much meat talking can we do?
Time travel. He brought up time travel, the craziness of the English language. My throat just croaked again. No.
Wait, what did he say? The craziness of the English language?
Yes. Okay. So for example, this is the example that I put on there.
Okay.
OUGH.
Hold on. OUGH.
Okay. Now say these words.
I know where you're going with this.
Say the word cough. No, say the word cough. Cough.
Cough.
Listen, cough through, though,
dough,
and bow.
Yeah. All with the OUGH.
OUGH, yeah. So it's just that was one of the things. I don't know if we could do a whole episode on that, but there you go, Tyler. That was your episode.
There, we covered that. What's the next subject?
But I know that there were some topics of like the simplicity of past generations and maybe we might even touch a little bit on some of that.
We brought in a gentleman who is 107 years old to talk about what life was like in early.
He's here. He's here right now. Frank?
Yeah. Frank? You ever used a HD camera?
Well,
just pretend you're not watching video right now. We're going to talk to Frank. Frank, go ahead. Hey, John, what questions do you have for Frank?
Frank.
Yes, sir.
How many times have you used the bathroom today?
I haven't used the bathroom since 1964.
Okay.
You can interpret that however you'd like.
Frank, how many teeth do you have left?
4 or 5, I'm not sure. I swallowed something hard earlier today. I don't know what it was.
Can you still eat corn?
Yes, as long as it's in the cream form.
Cream of corn. Oh, man. Kenny, I got to throw that out there. This friend of ours, mutual friend of ours, we had a men's Bible study at my house, and we were just talking about food.
Yep.
Yeah,
we love corn on the cob.
Yeah. I was like, I love corn on the cob. I go, Kenny. I tried to involve him in the conversation. He's kind of floating off to the side. I go, Kenny, do you like corn on the cob? And he's dead serious. looks me in the eye and goes, "Nah, I like corn in the can."
Corn in the can.
Corn in the can.
Yep. That was hey.
I love him.
Everybody likes that.
Hey, yeah.
But now, so then, does he love just canned corn or does he love cream corn?
I like all corn. We could do a whole episode on corn.
This is not the first time that we've joked around about corn.
I mean,
I had okay.
First off, do you know anybody? Think about it. Do you know anybody that doesn't like corn?
No.
I can't recall anybody that says I can't. That grosses me out.
The thing is corn's not exactly awesome for you. It's calories. It's calories, but you talk about like high fructose corn syrup and all this stuff. Corn's not the healthiest thing for you in the world.
I heard it has very little nutrients, if any. Right?
It's calories. It's just calories.
All calories.
Yeah. It's.
Love it though.
Hey, we can run cars on it. Ethanol. That's it's
seriously, we use it for everything.
I'm telling you, man. It is what it is. But so anyway.
Well, I was thinking too. We could talk about corn. Tyler's got a bunch of topics. We'll definitely hit those. We love that. I mean, we're doing this for fun, but we're also trying to give our audience what they want.
Get some engagement.
Yeah. So if there's any topics that you guys think would fit our personality,
I'm going to stop you right there, John.
I know. I'm going to stop doing it. I'm rubbing the table. Hands off.
John's like, hey.
Yeah. So
your noises can we make it?
Yeah. So I'm going to burp. Hold on. Okay. That was a false alarm. I've been doing editing on these videos, and Jeremy, I've been stressing out about it. Here comes the burp.
You're doing a good job.
I appreciate it. I think they're turning out well.
Yeah.
But,
they're fun to watch.
Obviously, you're doing the audio portion. I'm doing the video portion. And, man, I've really learned, you've heard the comment that you're always your worst critic.
Oh, of course.
It's so true with this. I'm sitting there editing this, and I'm like,
if it makes you feel any better, John, I can critique you more harshly than yourself if you'd like.
No, but I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm going, you know how I am. I'm an overthinker. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, my grammar sucks.
Oh.
And I'm thinking of all these things. I'm like, okay. And I've been telling people too, I'm like, man, one of the things that I keep saying, and I probably will say it throughout this podcast, this episode, is when I say the word remember, I take that R-E out of there. I just say member. I remember when you did this, remember when you did that. And honestly, it's been really bugging me because I catch myself doing it throughout the entire day at work, at home. I do it, I keep doing it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like committing myself to really paying attention to that. But then I just got to this point, and I think you're going to appreciate this, Jeremy. I really was kind of stressing out about it. I'm like, man, because you just sound so good to me. You're like, Mr. Audio.
I'll give you an example.
Okay. Well, anyhow, so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm going to recommit to like really paying attention to my grammar. Grammar. Is it grammar?
Grammar.
Grammar.
Caleb Bessa.
Yeah. So anyhow, but then I got to the point and I'm like, you know what? No, I'm going to embrace
just talk.
my whatever you want to call it, sloppy, lazy, Midwestern Yooper accent.
Corey Walski, a close family. He's my cousin. He's my cousin.
My cousin Vinny.
He's my cousin.
Yeah.
Corey Walski. He goes, you guys are totally from Wisconsin. I'm like, oh man. I'm like, and for me, I don't hear it in my own voice as much.
Oh,
but I'm like, John,
dude, real quick story.
Man.
Quick story. My good friend Ryan Walter, who listens to this podcast, he's been giving me a lot of positive feedback.
Hey, we are shouting out
we're
left
name
and right.
dropping.
That's like 7 names we've listed already.
Anyhow, Ryan, I know you're listening to this, so thank you for that support. Anyhow, when Ryan, he was from here, from the Midwest, met his wife at they both went to Northwestern University. She was from New Jersey. So his wedding was out there. Me and a couple guys were his best men. We drove out there for the wedding. And they were just making fun of our group of guys
from New Jersey. Were making fun of
they were making fun of
accent.
Our. But here was the funny thing about it, though. I started to pay attention to it, and so I'm ripping on my friends. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, okay, there," And it was so funny. Somebody from the wedding party, one of the bridesmaids, came up to me. She goes, "You want to hear something funny, John?" She goes, "You're the worst." And I'm like, "Are you serious?" And ever since then, I mean, recently, a couple years ago at work, a guy just started. And he goes, "Hey, are you from Canada?"
It's pretty strong. You got it.
It is strong. But you know what? I'm not going to shy away from it.
No, that's
who I am.
Yeah.
I mean, some people have compared me to that Manitowoc Minute dude.
It's funny. I was just going to mention him because he had a thing the other day. He's like, Charlie Barons.
Barons, yeah.
The other day he had one that was like, these guys are all, "Do you want a soda?" He's like, "Oh, soda. I'll have a pop." And they're going back and forth, soda, pop, whatever. And this other guy's like, "Hey, does like a Southern guy comes in and he's like, oh, what kind of Coke you got? I'll take whatever Coke you want. And they're like, oh no, soda. Both of them, the soda and pop guys are like, oh no, that's not so bad now. But
that's a great subject too. Is just language. That was in my notes for some of the things I wanted to cover. Is just some of the
colloquialisms.
Well, slang and just words that are, what would you call them? Regional
colloquialisms.
Really?
Oh yeah, I just laid that out on you. Hey,
ladies and gentlemen, that is the word of the day.
You know.
I swear, sometimes you find these words and then you're like, I'm going to use them today.
Okay, confession. There was a short time, I don't do it anymore, but there's a short time where I was like looking at the dictionary.com word of the day for a while. I'm a geek.
And used it?
I'm such a nerd, man.
Well, see, I've thought of that. You know what's funny? If you go to the gas station, in Wisconsin here, we have a lot of Quick Trips, which people love, and they are great gas stations. But they have that little TV screen at the pump, which is pretty much standard at all gas stations now. The word of the day. And so I try to do. I'm like, I'm going to use that, and I always forget what the word is.
But oh man, so my I just had this conversation. Mo, who was on the podcast on episode 3, we were talking, and I was talking to her and Voxer. And we were talking about the podcast, and I said the word like, and I was like, oh, like, because
what do you mean? Like,
I find myself
just saying the
word like. So now you, listener, are going to hear that.
But like how? Like, show me, give me an example.
Okay, so I'm just talking. I was looking at this water bottle, and I was like, this said like item and art like.
Really?
Like
I never noticed that about
you. It kills me. It kills me. But this again is what you were saying about being your own worst critic.
Yeah.
We hear ourselves, and this has nothing to do with today's episode. But this is the Roundabout Podcast, and this is what we do.
Oh.
You're your own worst critic, and that was something that I'm like. I just said it again, and now it's gonna kill me every time I say it.
Well, I remember you use. See, remember? Just
you.
Kidding. That was a joke. Anyhow, bad joke. Here's what I notice you do too in the edit or when I do the videos.
Oh, we're pointing out each other.
Oh, no, this is a good thing that you do.
Good
thing. I've already complimented you. You have an awesome voice.
I
have the Youper. I actually probably my Youper accent or my Midwestern accent is probably so bad it makes yours seem totally like not existent.
I didn't. I feel like, oh, do I have a Wisconsin accent? I don't think so.
But I think mine's pretty.
People
thick.
have said, oh yeah, you do.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah.
But anyhow, so I noticed that. I notice you look at the camera a lot.
I like to engage.
Which is cool, but it makes me look kind of like a standoffish, like I'm talking to him right now, not you. So I'm going to that is one thing I will commit to. I am going to make a concerted effort to look at the camera once in a while to engage the YouTube viewer.
Who's the guy that we talked about in episode 1? What's his name? The imaginary 40-year-old guy sitting on the couch. Let's name him right now. Not Joe. That's like something like Joe is too boring.
Yeah, Joe's too good or too boring. How about I don't know. Let's use Frank since you use that Frank name.
But his real name is Francois. He's actually he was born in France, but he was adopted as a young baby.
Wow, you're really getting into the character.
Hey, this is Frank.
Wow.
Yeah, Francois is his name.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a French accent. He was raised in America.
Yeah.
He's French technically, but
okay. But so that's who we're going to imagine is sitting on the Frank,
who is technically French, but raised in America.
Wow.
So Frank, address Frank and go ahead. You want to address?
Hi Frank, thanks for tuning in. And no, that's going to mess that up for me. Don't do that. I'm not going to imagine.
No, Frank.
You can.
Frank,
I'm imagining somebody else in my camera. You can imagine.
There are people right now who have just decided I'm not listening to this episode.
Guys are clowns.
This is done.
So another thing I noticed too, my hair. I need to get the hair on point, which I think today it looks pretty good.
John, I don't want to even hear about your hair. I don't want to hear about your hair.
Okay, I was
going to
ask you, when I talk about hair, does that
offend me?
Yeah, does that offend you? Like it's all like.
Every time.
I compare it to you like talking about a Corvette that you're driving all that.
It doesn't offend me. It just like something dies inside every time.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. But the hair thing, I was thinking about that today too. I was like, man, we're really weird with our hair if you think about it.
Like how we
just how we like I try to think like how did I get to the point that I style my hair the way I do? And it dawned on me, I think our parents kind of mold us into that. They start combing our hair and doing stuff to it. It's like I had a mullet for 13 years because that's the hairstyle my parents gave me. Thanks, Mom and Dad. I'm going to share that photo, actually. I'm going to put it on our Instagram page.
Nice.
It is the epic mullet. It is perfect. I look like Joe Dirt.
Yeah.
And most of my family and friends who know me very well probably have seen this photo at some point.
Life's a garden.
Yeah, but I had that mullet forever, and it's like, I didn't choose that hairdo.
But you were rocking it.
But I was rocking it.
Yeah, buddy.
But, you just... that's what dawned on me. It's that our parents are the ones that kind of impose that. Even probably our clothing taste, if you think about it.
To some extent, yeah. Although, oh my goodness, when I was a kid, the classic example when we were a kid. So I'm a twin. I have a twin brother, not identical, but we shared clothes, and there were corduroy pants in our drawer that we hated to wear. Both of us hated wearing these corduroy pants. We just wanted to wear jeans.
Okay. And
this is I'm talking, we were young, like elementary school, and for some reason we just hated wearing these corduroy pants.
Yeah.
And so you don't always just embrace it. Sometimes you buck it, and I don't even know why we hated them. I don't know. Do you own any corduroy pants, John?
I have a funny story about, kind of funny. It was sad at the time, but I grew up with 3 sisters, right? And I don't know why I did this. Tell me if you ever did this. I loved wearing other people's clothes. Like I got sick of the clothes I was wearing. So I would take a shirt out of my dad's drawer and wear it. I'd wear, find my sister's pair of pants. So what I was getting at with this story is they had my sister Jessie had a pair of purple corduroy pants.
Ooh.
And I thought they were cool. I was like, I'm going to wear these to
This
school. This would have been
late
honestly,
80s?
Oh, this would have been 80s, no doubt. Probably mid 80s because I think it was like kindergartner. I was a kindergartner.
So you're just like...
Yeah, so I put these pants on, and I'll never forget it because it was somewhat of a traumatic experience as a kid, and this is where it's sad. Cue the violin music, please. No, so I'm sitting there. It was story time in the library, right? And I'm sitting there. The tag on the pants said girls, with the size on it, and there were a bunch of guys sitting behind me, or boys sitting behind me. And it's so funny that even at that age, kindergartner, you had these like cliques and groups and... and the I guess they were kind of bullyish, but they were the cool boys.
Yeah.
They were behind me, and one of them said something like, "He's got girl pants on," and they all started like laughing at me. And I remember.
Oh,
I remember crying, and the librarian calling me to the side, and what's the man? I'm like, they're making fun of my pants, they're girl pants, and I just told that story recently at a family gathering. My mom was like. Felt really bad about it.
Dude, kindergarten, it was a learning time for that was like, I think obviously kindergarten is like you have a lot of first experiences. we're taking a while to get into our main topic of the day, but that's okay. This is for whatever reason, this wasn't actually that traumatic for me, but boy, did I learn. So kindergarten, had to have been the beginning of the year. I had to use the bathroom.
Uh-oh. You know it's going to be a good story when it starts with had to use the bathroom.
So I'm 5 years old, kindergarten. I go in there, and then it's elementary school is up to 5th grade. So you've got all the different kids in there. Grant Street School, and I go into the bathroom, and I gotta pee, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to use one of them. I don't know what it was called at the time, but the urinal.
Which was new. You're right. When you were a kid, that was kind of a new thing.
New. Never used one before.
What is that thing?
And you know what? I'm like, when I'm at home and I use the bathroom, I just
pants down,
man. What's up? So
you drop trow
right there in front of the urinal. Had some
front of the class.
Had some like 5th graders walk in when I'm doing it. I'm peeing,
and you're like, what?
Yeah, oh, dude, man, and they're like, laughing at me, just the same thing. Well, I never did that again. That was a learning experience.
I'm glad to know you never did that again. You don't do that as an adult.
Well, I mean, most of the time.
I remember a kid doing the same thing, and I was like, "Wow, that's weird." He just dropped his. Everybody else just kind of like.
Yeah. I think it's a little kid thing to do. You don't. Oh, yeah. You're not.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, that's what I do. Oh, that's funny stuff, man. So, you and your brother shared clothes, though, hey?
Oh yeah.
Underwear too.
Oh, probably.
Wow, that's tough.
No shame. That was.
You wearing these?
Who knows? I couldn't tell you definitively one way or another, but Probably.
I have twin sisters. I'll have to ask them if they did that. Girls, it might be different, but
Yeah.
I never thought about that. They did share clothes, but I wonder if they ever shared underwear.
Yeah. I
That's
don't.
kind of a weird clothing item to share, isn't it?
It's a very weird clothing item to share,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I don't know. So,
Yeah. So what's our subject? What are we getting into?
well, so what I want to talk about today is busyness.
Okay.
And this is something that we just broached lightly in maybe the first episode, because I remember you made a comment and you said, "Oh, we don't have lives," and I said, "Oh no," and this was something that I was like, "Oh," because this is something I feel like for the last years. I mean, we talked about how long it took us to get this podcast up and running, off the ground, and I feel like it's just something that life for both of us. And me personally, I'm saying, like, I've experienced this, but I know that both of us, that it's busyness and just everything that is going on every day is something that a lot of people deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you manage this? How do you manage your time? How do you juggle, things? What priorities are what? So I'll ask you, John. What would you say? Would you say that in your life that you've got, as far as time, like, would you say that there's pretty heavy demands on your time, or how do you go about, and we'll just get it off and running. How do you manage your time when you've got different tasks or projects? I know you've got the busy season coming up here for work.
Yeah, for me, it's a lot easier, right? Because I don't have kids, so that's a game changer, right?
Mhm.
If you don't have kids. I mean, I know a lot of people, especially at work, and their sons are in baseball, they're in this and that, and their lives pretty much are filled up with activities with the kids. I don't have that, so, and that's not to say that I have nothing to do and I'm not busy. I just I have more control of my time and what I can do. I think, if I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I manage my time all that great. I feel like I'm busy all the time, and that's the thing too. It's like, busy isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not.
Like anything, and we've talked about this several times in the earlier podcasts, is that just balance, and being busy. Let's just use video games, for example. If I'm busy doing that and I'm all in that, but I'm neglecting these other things, well, that's not a good busy, right? Obviously. I'm talking about, like, I got this, I got that, I got that. And then, and then there's that other end of it where you're too busy that it's unhealthy, where you just everybody needs that time to recharge, and I'd be really interested in hearing how that works for you and Raven with all the kids that you have. But for me, it to answer your question, I don't give it much thought, to be honest with you. I got things that I'm very good at meeting deadlines. I'm very good at figuring out ways to get things done at certain times. I just always been good at that, and I've been diligent in that. But yeah, I don't know if I'm even answering your question. To be honest with you.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, this is. I think, to some extent, no matter how busy, busyness is a way to say it, but I think just time management in general. This is something that everybody deals with. This, no matter who you are, you deal with time management, because you're making choices every moment of your life. How to
you know what, one of my biggest flaws, I believe, is I overcommit to things. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll help with that. Yeah, I'll do that. And then I'm sitting there whining to myself, complaining that, like, oh, I got to do this now. I got to do that. I got to do this. I will say that as I get older, I really appreciate and cherish those moments where I can just veg out and just recharge, as opposed to when I was younger, I wanted to always be doing something. If I was sitting around doing nothing, I got anxious, and I still get those moments too. But as a kid, it was like, or I shouldn't even say kid. When I was a young adult, in my early 20s and even in my 30s, it was almost like I felt like I had to be doing something, like on a Friday evening or whatever.
Sure.
Now it's like I look forward to, like, oh, there's nothing on my calendar today. I can just relax. I can go do this. So your priorities kind of change too. It's like as you get older, at least for me, it's like I found that those relaxation moments are very precious to me versus when I was a kid. I kind of took them for granted and kind of got annoyed with them. If that makes any sense.
Just waste. You like, oh, I'm so bored.
Yeah, I'm bored.
some things. There's 3 different things that came to mind when you just were talking that I want to ask about. But it's funny that like, oh, I'm bored. I joked recently with somebody. I said I long for the day that I can be bored. That I have the like. I'm like, oh, I want a day where I can just be like, I'm bored. I got nothing to do, because that's right. I'm in a phase of my life, and you mentioned it, like with kids and houses and just different things. I'm in a phase of my life right now where that's a luxury that I
not enough time
I
in the
covet
day,
that.
right?
Yeah. But so when you were talking, you were saying like having that time to yourself. So one of the things is the healthiness of having that time to just rest and relax, and maybe it's with your wife, or just spending some time where you're not where it's not like output. Where you actually get a chance to refresh and that. But there's a balance to that we can touch on this in a little bit if this is the direction it goes. But there's the balance to that, and this is hard. This whole episode, I think I might have said this to you earlier before the episode, but this is an episode where I'm like, oh man, this is stepping on my own toes. And how do I want to say, when people are asking you for your time, essentially, there's an element of, okay, I want to display love and selflessness, but where does that scale tip to now? This person doesn't really need, they're just asking out of convenience. They're asking, will you do this for me? Will you help me with this? They don't really need it. And where's the balance go? I just want
where
some
you draw the line
of my time for this, other thing, my thing, or my family thing, or whatever. And family, obviously, there's a priority that gets placed on that. But so there's a fine line sometimes with saying no, because it's just healthy, or there's other priorities or necessities, or where it's like, okay, it's not convenient for me to help you, but I want to show you love, so I'm going to help you. And I'm like, so that I wrestle with this.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, I wrestle with this.
I can't, and I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm some great guy, but like I can't really recall, at least in this moment right here and now and during this podcast, I can't really recall moments where I've told somebody no. If I can do it,
what a guy.
And that's not always a good thing.
Just kidding.
Because you can be taken advantage of, which I don't feel like I am, but I'm just, if I look throughout my life, I'm sure there were moments, but like it's usually I can't. There's something else that's in the way, or a higher priority, but I don't know. I see what you're saying. There's a lot of different elements to this, because then there's that, that I need that me time.
Right.
And I know some people like that they gotta have me time.
Sure.
I don't care what it is. I'll miss a funeral for me time. But
well, and look, and I'll say this too. There's an element. So this is a topic that it's easy for us to really wrestle with this, because there's an element of and this can be abused, no doubt. What I'm about to say, this can be abused and twisted into a selfish motive. But there's an element of, okay, I need to be a good steward of my physical body, my mental health, whatever, and I'm not going to get into like weird psychological things or anything like that. But the thing of like, in order for me to be as effective or as productive or as helpful even to others in other times, I need to make sure that I'm maintaining my physical health, my mental health, my spiritual health, all of these things.
Yeah.
And so, but again, that can be twisted like, oh no, I need some me time so that way I can help people more, whatever. Yeah, sure.
I can't help
pal.
you. I can't help you move. It wouldn't be good for my
exactly. Yeah, I need to pray. I need to just pray.
I'm sorry.
Whereas the Lord's saying like, no, you need to help them move.
Yeah.
But one thing too that I just wanted to, something that I heard a long time ago, and it has become increasingly true. It's always been true, always. But a lot of people will place a high value on money or material things, different things like that. And I heard it said once, like, that time is infinitely more valuable than money. Like,
I believe
if
that.
you think about it, There's now
you can't make more time.
You can't make more time.
You can make more money.
And there's nothing you can do once it is gone.
Yeah.
So if you think back to being think back to being like a lazy bum teenager or early 20s, whatever, when you had that time to just like, oh, I'm just gonna sit around and veg or whatever. Now it's like, man, I could have been doing so much more, and you said video games or whatever. I did enjoy video games as much as the next guy when I was younger, but now it's like
nerd.
Now it's like I can't even remember the last time I played video games.
Yeah,
because it's a luxury. Like sometimes my boys, they'll be playing something. I'm like, oh hey, let's play whatever. I'm like, dude, you'll kick my butt because it's not there anymore.
Yeah, you just don't have that spark for that anymore. The one thing I will say too, though, is that despite not having kids, all of my downtime, when I'm talking about the relaxation and everything, I really enjoy with my wife. I really do. I mean, I know, and I'm not knocking anybody out there because everybody has their own opinions and needs of things or whatever that they feel they need in their life. But like, I know there are people out there where they're like, I got to get away from my wife. I need to, whatever. But I can honestly say that I never have those moments. It's always like I always envision when I have downtime, it's going to be with her.
Yep.
Yeah. And for the record, she has not listened to one episode yet.
You serious?
Not one.
I'm going to scold.
I knew it.
Crystal, you're going to watch this or listen to this. Yeah. I'm going to scold you after this episode is recorded. And that, what you just said.
Which can I'd have one more thought. This is so funny. Have you run into this yet? I went to my niece's birthday party last weekend, and my mom, she is such a sweetheart. I know she's supportive. She was real excited about this whole venture and everything. And I saw her, and it was the funniest thing. I saw her. I go, hey, Mom, how are you? She goes, I didn't listen to episode 4 yet. And she was like feeling bad about it. And I go, like she thought I was going to come in and go, so what did everybody think episode 4?
There's going to be a test, a quiz on every episode.
Yeah, same with it at work, too. Yeah. I was talking to somebody, Carlos, and I go, Carlos, or he brought it up, actually. He goes, oh, man, yeah, I'm really liking the podcast. He's like, I'm in episode 3 or something like that. I'm like, oh, cool. And so I go, oh, the one with Mo. And he kind of looks at me and I'm like, yeah, we interviewed Mo. He goes, I lied. Maybe it's episode 2. So I bust up. It was a funny moment. But yeah, for all of our friends and family,
that's a good test when somebody says like, oh yeah, what episode are you to? Oh, I'm up to this. Yeah, what's it about?
Yeah. No. But it was funny though because I want to say this right now. And Jeremy, I know you agree with me 100%. Family, friends, we don't expect you to be listening to every single podcast, maybe, No, we don't. I don't.
No.
So
no.
Yes, if you do tune in to them, we I love the support and
time management. This is a good example of it. If I just croaked again, dude. It's one of these days we're gonna figure out how to not do that. This is a good example. Like if you can listen to a podcast while you're driving somewhere or doing something or whatever, but some people want to watch the video. And hey, time management. If you've got more important, look, you have. I'm not gonna say if. You have more important things to do than to listen to us ramble about stuff. But it's totally understandable. But it's a good example of choices, man. You got to make choices. So yeah, no pressure, but lots of pressure. Lots of pressure.
But you're right though. As you get older, it's like that time becomes more and more precious and valuable.
And nothing you can do to make more of it. And it seems like now, I know you mentioned kids earlier, and this is something. Like my kids aren't even in organized sports, and sometimes I look at the parents who have like multiple children in multiple sports, and it just blows my mind. All the running and that it's not like literally crazy or in a bad way crazy.
Like, how
but
do
it's
they
crazy.
do it?
Like just all
picking up this one, going to there, doing this, dropping off there.
Oh my goodness, man! And it just gets crazy. But just having kids, it's like it's a good demand. I want to spend time and I want to develop a good relationship with all of my children, an individual relationship, not just like always hanging.
As a group. You want
and that's
that
still
one-on-one.
good.
Yeah,
it's still good
but
to hang out as a group.
Yeah, that one-on-one is very important.
But man, that's tough. It's tough.
That's how I am with Tucker, my dog. I mean, it's not just me, him, and Crystal all the time.
Come on,
it's
Tucker,
Tucker.
snuggle time.
Come on, son.
Oh, I was going to say this about, you said the desire to be spend your free time with your wife. And I think that is.
And I'm not. By the way, I'm not trying to get brownie points. I mean it. I really do enjoy.
But that's a good thing.
Yeah.
That it should be when you have time available. I mean, this is as an encouragement to any of you guys listening, any of you men out there listening. We can't speak directly to the women on this, but as husbands, your wife should be your number one outside of the Lord. Your wife should be your number one relationship in this world, and to cherish that and value that and invest in that. And so yeah, I mean,
if you ever do get to a point where that isn't the case, you need to have a sit down and talk. And
we'll have an episode.
We'll bring you on here. We'll straighten you out.
Be a man.
We'll straighten you out.
But there is a.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yep.
Is there anything in your life that you're like, I need to scale this back?
Well, that's a good question, because that was one of the points that I wanted to hit, was cutting out the fluff of things. You know, like just cutting. If it's not important, cut it out. And so
cut it out.
So this podcast, John, this is our last episode.
Yeah, I thought you were going to bring it to this. So we realize this is taking up way too much of our personal life.
No,
are you breaking up with me right now, bro? It seems like a slow, kind of gentle. It's not you. It's me. Something I'm going
management.
through.
It's just anytime you don't want to do something, you're like, look, I'm just trying to be a good. Value my resources.
I guess I'll take your head off the old logo there tomorrow.
This is, and that's that. One of the things that's tough is that right now in my life, I'll try and run through it as quickly as I can. I've got my family.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a lot of church responsibilities, between leading worship and men's Bible study and all these things. This podcast, work, and then children. But then we're like getting ready to sell a house, and there's been just a lot of time sucked. I can't wait to be done with this. I can't wait to be done with that, because that's going to be just a relief it's out of the equation. But there are a lot of things that demand my time right now, and I don't know if there's anything really that I would say I can cut this out. And so it becomes now, I'm sure there are, but there are also those things like, all right, so I'll bring up, I was just on my way here, see, time management, I was listening to a different podcast called Space Cats, Peace Turtles, which is, John, your face.
Wow.
It's another podcast. It's about Space Cats, Peace Turtles.
Peace? Turtles?
Yes, these are factions in that nerdy game Twilight Imperium that I play. And so this is an example of this is an example of, I could cut this out, but, and I'll explain the but here. This is a game that some friends of ours, and now my two sons, Max and what's my son's name again? Max and Silas are going to be playing this game with us, and this is
a proud dad moment.
This is a proud dad moment. Oh man, okay. All right. Sidebar. This is there's a Twilight Imperium global Facebook group that I'm a part of, and you can post. Obviously, you guys know how Facebook works. And the boys and I played a game maybe a month ago, and I posted a photo of the boys, and the game board all laid out. And this is the most complicated board game that I can think of, that I know of. It takes about 8 hours to play, more or less. And I posted a photo of the boys on there, and everybody's like, "Oh, that's awesome! Your kids." They're like, "Mom, my daughter's only 4. My son's only, just the newborn or whatever." But there are guys who can't wait for their children to be old enough to play this game.
Wow!
So this is a good example of we commit basically an entire Saturday every 3 or 4 months. We get together with a few guys, and now my boys, and one could say that we waste a whole Saturday, but this is like, it's just solid fellowship and friendship, brotherhood with these guys that we get together with, and now my two sons that are going to be hanging out with me, and it's like just that time together. And you could say, "Oh, it's just a stupid board game," but this is like time together,
no doubt. And it's like what we were talking about, even with you you gotta be sensible with the time management with anything. And we keep balance, we keep hammering that word, but I mean, even we were talking about with Mo, I believe, with diet, it's like, I've gone to the extremes, right?
Yeah.
Where remember I was saying about the. I think I said where I was eating a handful of nuts, and I'm like, how many? I mean, I
can't eat this.
Yeah,
this
you gotta.
handful of
You
trail mix.
cannot, especially if you want to sustain something, right? You cannot take that. You can't cut all the joys of your life out. You still have to live life and have those moments. And like you said, on the surface, you could look at that and go, they're playing a board game. What a waste of time. That man, they could be doing this, they could be doing that. But you find value in that time that you spend with them. No doubt in my mind, Jeremy, they're cherishing that time. I mean, I look at some of the things my dad and I did, hunting and all that stuff. You could make that a case that could be a waste of time and money too, but I cherish those moments so much, because those were just moments of me and him being together and just enjoying each other's company. I mean, when you're in that board game, it's not. I'm sure there's moments where you're you're socializing and, like you said, fellowshipping and having conversations on things. It's a way to bond.
Yeah.
And it's a mutual interest.
Yeah.
Hunting and fishing were a mutual interest that my dad and I shared, and to do that with somebody that you love is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'm thinking now, it's just even about so what are things that could be considered frivolous, extraneous things in life? This backpacking trip, we're going to Yosemite this year for backpacking. There's the time off of work. There's the time away from family. There's a time, although my wife does go sometimes, but she's not going this year because we will have a 3-month-old child at that time. So it wouldn't be a good thing for her to do.
Yeah.
But there's time away from family. There's time off of work. There's the time that it takes to plan. And you could say, okay, anything that you do that is just for enjoyment or entertainment, cut it out because it's not worth your time. There's other things that you could be spending your time on, but
that's not life.
Right. And and then you think about, like, even that trip, like, we're going to be with our brothers and sisters from church, like our friends and enjoying out in creation.
Well, I was going to say enjoying creation,
appreciating what the Lord's made and just being out in that beauty. And so, okay.
But then you run into that problem where you're justifying your pleasures too.
This is where we have to be honest. About it. And if there are convictions or just common sense things, we have to be honest about that. Yeah. But so let's just say, hypothetically, theoretically, there's nothing that we can cut out. We are down to the bare bones, and we still find ourselves feeling short on time. How can we make the most? This was, I feel like, like, is this embarrassing? It's whatever. My mom commented when I asked, like, what are some questions or comments that you have? And she said, what are the topics? And I said, one of the topics today was that we were going to record was busyness. And she said, she's got work, she's got these things to take care of. She, there's church and stuff, and trying to find time to do certain things. And I can't remember exactly how she asked the question, but basically, what do you do when you feel like you're not doing a lot of extra stuff that doesn't need to be done, but you still feel strained for time?
That's a common feeling people have.
Oh, I have it every day.
I mean, I had it at work.
Constantly.
I had it at work where I'm like, man, I feel like I've been go, and at the end of the day, it's like I have nothing to show for it. I feel sometimes. Yeah. I think a lot of people struggle with that. So,
and I'm one of them. I feel sometimes feel like, man, I can't get ahead.
Yeah,
I can't get ahead of the game. We got our new house. There's projects that have to be done. There's things in my mind that
you got an 8-hour board game to play. When am I going to have time for that?
Do you see how ridiculous that sounds? but there are things that I want to do to the house. There are things. And then just like you said, the quality time with the family and my wife and my children and everything else. And so a couple of things that I've found that are very important and just for whatever reason, very hard to remember or even follow through with are, I almost despise this phrase because it's overused, but it's a cliche for a reason because it's so important and true, is to be intentional. And that's is something that people say, oh, in life we have to be intentional with our choices and this is whatever. But it is absolutely true, is that we need to be aware of how we're spending our time and actually think about it, put some planning into it if need be, which I think is important. I've always been known as not so much a planner, but as I've gotten older, I have definitely become more of a planner because I see the value of it. I see the importance of actually putting some foresight into how you, in this case, how you spend your time. And so being intentional, but then also with that becomes like taking, and this is the best. When I was thinking about this episode of just busyness, the best thing that I could come up with is, and I'm talking to me right now, I am talking to myself right now. The best thing that I could come up with was don't waste those 5 or 10 or 15-minute chunks that you have. There are so many times that I've found like I could knock out this little piddly thing where I feel like, oh, I just had 25 minutes that I just,
You're talking about procrastinating.
Yes and no.
I'll do that tomorrow.
But not. It's almost not even intentional. Like, oh, I don't feel like doing that. It's just like sometimes in my mind I feel like 5 minutes. I can't get anything done in 5 minutes. But you can. You can take 5 minutes off of whatever task, and sometimes it doesn't seem like it would even be.
But aren't you making the argument to stay busier?
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. So
look at analyze your day. Whatever time you have to do nothing, do something.
Well, but this is
I'm teasing.
No, I know. But this is the thing we were talking about. Busyness isn't always a bad thing, but it's more of a time management thing.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I think, oh, I'm so busy. But really, is it that I'm so busy, or is it that I'm not managing? Because I guess this is where I'm getting at with this, is that if we take 15 minutes and then 15 minutes and then 15 minutes and then 15 minutes, it doesn't seem like that much in those chunks, but that's an hour now of something that now I've got an hour to spare later on because I'm not taking a whole chunk of time to do this, like all of this thing at once. And sometimes that's just not possible.
Well,
but I think the more that we can utilize those minutes, that minutes make hours. You know what I mean?
For sure. Another thought I just had too is that, and I'm guilty of this, is that there's a difference between actually being busy and just feeling busy or thinking you're busy. Sometimes your mind is just busy, and you translate that into that you're physically busy with things. And you see what I'm saying with that?
Yeah,
and I've had that a lot too, where it's like, oh, I can't do this, I'm so busy, and you overwhelm yourself. And it really isn't that your calendar's full of things to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that your brain isn't processing and focusing on things, and it's just speeding.
Yeah.
And that happens to me a lot.
Yeah.
Where I feel like I'm busy, but if I really take a step back and just chill out, it's like I'm really not as busy as I think.
Yeah.
And I'll bet a chunk of people could relate to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and 100%. And that's to the feeling of busyness. I think this is to where, like you said, take a step back.
Because would you say you could feel busy and not? Would you agree with that? I mean, you can feel busy and not be busy.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times what causes that is going back to what I said. You just said take a step back. I think sometimes if we would take a step back and actually say, okay, this is where the planning and a little bit of just looking at things. Okay, I'm not actually as busy as I think I am. I just need to organize things in a way where I can streamline things. Or maybe I don't need to. Maybe this project that whatever project it is, maybe I don't have to do this part of it, and I can chop off that little bit of it. Or maybe this other thing, okay, that I don't have to do that right now. Or maybe, hey, I want to get that done right now, so that way tomorrow I don't have to even worry at all about this. So I think that some of it is just taking a step back and looking at it, looking at our time, and I'm going to say it again, being good stewards, being good stewards of our time, because we talk about being good stewards of the things that the Lord has given us, and time is absolutely one of those things.
Yeah.
If we waste that, we don't get that back. There's no, we can be sloppy and lazy with our bodies, and maybe in a year make that up, whatever, or make up some of that stuff, or with our money, maybe we can make more money. Time, we will never get more time.
No, you're absolutely right. And one of the things I think about that really eats up all of a big portion of many people's time is social media.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guilty of it.
Yeah,
I've had many moments where I'm like,
and
you can get lost. I mean, whether it's YouTube, you go down the rabbit hole in YouTube and you sink into things there, or you just start, these phones are eat up a lot of our time.
But John, I want to scroll through the reels on Facebook and see the dumb dances.
I know, but it's just like there's so many platforms out there that you can just spend hours and hours and hours. I'll bet every single person could almost sit back and go, yeah, I could cut some of that out.
Absolutely.
That eats up that's a perfect veg tool, is your phone, to sit there on the couch and just scroll,
My and some people can handle it better than others. Some people, maybe they can handle it, but they just know, what, I don't want that distraction at all. Raven she's completely, she took Facebook off her phone. She doesn't go on Facebook anymore. Now, it's like,
yeah, see, I've had those thoughts, but the challenge for me is with work, and now with this.
Yeah, right.
It's like you're almost locked into having to access that.
Yeah. And there's, but even with that, like,
I'm in control though. It's like I can still monitor.
I can quit anytime I want.
No, but you know what I'm saying though? It's like I could easily, it's because of work, I got to do it. It's like, yeah.
It is it's a challenge. So time management is just, it's a challenge that we face. And I said this already, that we face day to day and even literally minute to minute, just the choices that we make.
Mm-hmm.
Are you screwing around and wasting time because you're lazy, or you're procrastinating, or lack of planning, and you don't realize it and it's going to bite you later, or or are you thinking about these things? So I was going to touch on something else, but I think we can kind of wrap it up there.
No.
I think this is just, I don't know, maybe it's a more practical episode. I mean, we had plenty of foolishness in the beginning.
Oh, there's always going to be foolishness as long as I'm involved here. Come on now, what do you expect?
No, it's good. But this is a vitally important thing, and I think you, I, and many others that will be listening, the millions of fans that we have listening.
Well, I think this podcast is going to convict a good chunk that they're probably going to be like, you know what, I should unsubscribe from podcasts. So good job, Jeremy. You just lost some of our.
Hey, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do.
To hammer back the point though that I was talking about is that you and to make the case to stay subscribed to the podcast.
Please don't unsubscribe.
It's balance. You got it.
Yes.
There's some things you do have to just enjoy in life, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I could be on a diet, but long term, to sustain that, I can't cut every single. It's not realistic. It's not practical. Mm-hmm. Just diet, and it's and the same goes for time management. Yes, you're not going to always utilize every single minute of your day perfectly.
Yeah, yeah.
But just to, like you said, just to be conscious of it.
Yes,
and just to and
absolutely
reflect on that.
And to touch on that point and also plug something here. We were recently. There's going to be a little bit of confusion with our Spotify pages for just a short time, because we created an audio account and then we were approved for the video podcasting platform on Spotify. We will be switching entirely to the video podcasting platform, because you can turn your screen off and just listen to the audio of that if you want. And the reason that I'm plugging that is that this is a good example of, if you need to, you can. We'll put it this way. If you want to watch the video, if you have the time or the ability to do that while you're doing something else, cool. That's available. Spotify has that, obviously YouTube. But if you need to just turn it off, you can turn your screen off and just go to the audio only version. And that's a good example of, make the most of it.
Manage your time.
Enjoy our podcast. Definitely.
Yeah,
that's
don't cut
mandatory.
that out of your
That's
life.
mandatory.
Yeah, have that in your life.
But do something else while you're also enjoying that podcast. Go for a run. Go for a run. Take care of your body. Do some dishes. Do some whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
So that's all we got for today for you guys.
Sounds good.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. And come on back for the next episode of the Roundabout Podcast with us. Thanks. Hey guys. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Roundabout Podcast. If you would, please rate, subscribe, and review us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It'll really help us to grow the show. Also, feel free to join us on the Roundabout Podcast community on Facebook. You can ask us questions, connect with other listeners, and give us ideas for future episodes. We'll see you again soon.